terms. You might have seen Elon Musk making a speech at a big international conference this week in which he wore a T-shirt that said tech support. It's not a flattering look, but he thought it was hilarious. He tried to say this T-shirt was a very funny joke, that he's White House tech support. You know, for our generation of Howard Phillipses, our generation of the let's kill the U.S. government and we don't care if it's legal or not. Our guys have claimed the right to do what they're doing, not just because of their wild-eyed zeal against the U.S. government and the U.S. system of governing. They've claimed the right to do this. They've sort of claimed that their legitimacy comes from their tech savvy, because they're so good with computers. So we're all supposed to, get out of their way, or we're supposed to be intimidated or at least confused by what exactly they're doing, because, wow, it's such a high level, right? It's so high tech. They're so tech savvy, so competent, so good at what they're doing. How could we mere mortals possibly understand? 404 Media today reported that on the website for Doge, I don't know, Doge, I don't know, whatever we're supposed to call it, on their own website that Elon Musk's agency-destroying group has set up for themselves. It appears that random members of the public have been able to upload joke categories and database entries onto that website that show up as if they are official Doge.gov data. And people can add random stuff to this website, not because there's like a post your public comment here section, but because apparently when Doge designed this website for itself, they didn't know how, or they forgot to make the website secure so other people couldn't post random stuff on it. 404 Media reporting today that people were posting things like, quote, these experts left their database open, ruh-roh, and quote, this is a joke of a .gov site. Remember, these are our high-tech overlords. At the Huffington Post today, they've got comment from an unnamed employee of the Defense Intelligence Agency pointing out that among the data that Elon Musk's little group has posted online on their apparently totally insecure, half-baked website is classified information about the National Reconnaissance Office, which is the federal agency that designs, builds, and maintains U.S. intelligence satellites. Quote, Doge just posted secret, no foreign, meaning nobody who's not a U.S. national is supposed to see it, no foreign info on their website. Currently, people are scrambling to check if their info has been accessed. This comes on the heels of Elon Musk telling reporters in the Oval Office that we should all be shocked, the American people should be shocked by the scandalous discovery he and his high-tech team made while apparently pawing through Social Security records and data in that part of the government's guts. Because he's allowed to do that, I guess. He said the scandal that he and his team had uncovered in Social Security data is that there are people in the Social Security database who are listed as being 150 years old. And we don't know exactly what Mr. Musk was talking about because he's seeing stuff that I think he's not allowed to see, and neither are we. But today, people started gingerly asking if perhaps Mr. Musk just didn't know that in an older version of the programming language that is used by the Social Security Administration, when you didn't have a date to enter in a particular field, it would code it as 150 years ago. It would code it as 1875. The year 1875 is essentially an error message to let you know that there isn't a real date in that record, and so you should treat that as an error and find out what went wrong. Does he know that? Or does he really think those are records for 150-year-old people? Does he know what he's looking at when he's pawing through your Social Security records? Remember, it's their technical prowess and know-how that's supposed to impress us and make us think this is somehow different than when a far-right, power-mad, doomed president tried to do this exact same thing in 1973. We're supposed to be intimidated here. That measles outbreak we told you about last night in West Texas, it has now doubled in size as of today. The CDC also has fired as many as 1,300 people today. The intelligence staff at the Department of Energy sent its staff an urgent warning about how to respond to Elon Musk's team seeking access to sensitive classified materials about nuclear weapons. And at the National Nuclear Security Administration today, which is responsible for keeping our nukes safe, they fired a significant portion of their staff today, hundreds of staff members. Yesterday, we got word that Trump and Musk's little squad of genius web developers and software engineers, the folks who may have accidentally posted the classified information on their website and left open some sort of back door so that random members of the public can post stuff on it. That genius squad has now reportedly been sent into the IRS. So now that group is in there with your tax information. While tonight we get word that at the IRS, just ahead of tax filing season, they are about to fire thousands, maybe 9,000 people who actually work there to handle your taxes. The combination of the smash and grab by the supposedly high-tech team and the mass firing of people who actually do know what they're doing means real material harm is being done to our country. And it will take a long time to repair it when we finally get to start.